all new. AM1150 WTMP.com.
Alrighty. Okay, folks, that clock on the wall says 1 o'clock. So those that are still here, those that are within the sound of my voice, then you know what time that is.
Yeah.
That means it is time for Porch Talk Radio.
Live.
Your regular Saturday favorite radio show.
Number one show again.
And I know it because, last week we had a good show. We had a good show last week. I got folks who responded, had folks I've had conversations with, and I got folks who actually got it. They knew and understood what that show was all about. And because I didn't finish, because we got callers, I kind of got halfway through my list, because we was in the process of going through some of the reasons, Trump was suing and Trump was protesting.
He's still gonna make it.
The election and having the recount, all that stuff happened. So and really, what we talking about was how power works.
That's right.
And I know a lot of you guys do not understand power. So I have to make sure that somebody puts the information out. So like I said before, for those who've been listening to this show, for 10 years or 5 years or 2 years or however long it is, we know Porch Talk Radio is your favorite show. So
absolutely.
Not one of your favorite, your favorite. And like I said, we got a lot of people who don't like the show, but they still listen.
Woo!
So that's important. That's important. So what we're gonna do is we're not gonna take advantage of you and your time. We're gonna make sure that we give you information, even though you may not think right now you need it.
Mm-hmm.
At some point in your life, I'm telling you right now, at some point in your life, you're gonna say, that doggone Eddie Adams. I could have used the curse word then. But that doggone Eddie Adams. You may not even remember my name. You not even remember it came from me.
Just remember Ed.
But it's gonna pop up in your head what I just said, or something I say. And if you take credit for it, even if you give somebody else credit for it, it don't make no matter. It doesn't make no difference to me. It's the fact that it stuck, it stayed.
Mm-hmm.
And the things that I am talking about, like I said, I'm going to continue the conversation about power and how power works today. It's important that you have this information because you're negotiating, you're dealing with people every day. Even on your job site, or on your computer, or your laptop, or your telephone. During this time of COVID, it's a lot of stuff that's different than it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
Not better, but just different.
Yeah, it's different. I mean, 2020 is a bad year for me. I'm telling you. I've lost a lot of money.
That's right. Free rent in New Jersey.
I own houses.
Free rent in New Jersey. Everybody go to New Jersey
the
free.
governor and the president and the CDC and everybody say you ain't got to pay rent. Some people took that literally. They literally didn't pay rent, and they said that in February and March. So think about it. And I own 4 houses. So think about that. Somebody.
I noticed you get a bit skinnier.
4 houses, nobody's paying rent.
No, not really.
From March all the way to October.
Woo-wee.
Yeah. So anyway, but I can't let that stop me and put a dent on what we're trying to do here, because what we're trying to do here is really important. So it's the information, and for a lot of you folks out there, it really wasn't about who won or who lost the election either. I'm just giving you some facts and I'm giving you information on how power works. Because if you remember, the last time the Democrats was in power, we had the nuclear option. It was called the nuclear option.
By the Democrats.
Yeah, it was called the nuclear option, and they was in power, up until that point in time for stuff to get through the Senate, you had to have 60 votes. You had to have 60 votes, to get, controversial issues and change and for all these folks to get declared judges and have these treaties signed and all those different things that happen in the Senate. Well, the Democrats, evidently thought they were going to be in power forever. Forever. which was only like 2 years after they made that nuclear option thing go, and then next thing you know, the Republican were whooping them in the butt with that nuclear option because they were getting judges and appointments and all kind of stuff happening. And again, and somehow they forgot, they the one that made it possible because up until that point in time, it took 60 votes to do that. It took a majority, it took a good majority, a great majority, not just a single majority vote to make that happen. So anyway, the last time the Democrats was in power, they kicked themselves in the butt, which is what they're going to do this time.
Big time.
And I ain't even started the show yet, but I got to say this. They got corporations, businesses, industries already, we talking about transition to the White House, and these people are already planning to transition out of the United States before because they know, all these taxes and all this other, regulations and all this stuff is going to happen. Back. So again, they already, they don't have to stay here. See, that's the difference. That's one thing the Democrats use and fail to realize it happens all the time. People with money are not forced to stay here. They can take their money and go anywhere on this planet they want, and they got their money, and they don't pay taxes. If you remember a number of years ago, and I will start the program off in a little bit, but I got to get this stuff off my mind while I'm thinking about it. I remember years and years ago when they said we're gonna have a luxury tax. And if you got a yacht, you got a yacht.
Bush era,
we're gonna tax your yacht, and we're gonna get that money, and we're gonna make all this money and make all these social changes based upon the fact that we have all this additional money. But guess what? The yacht industry moved away. It left the country.
So did the jobs.
All them people who were building yachts, all them people who were owning yachts, all that stuff. All of a sudden, all those yacht registrations, ownership, and production left the country. That's what happened. You can't say we're going to have all this extra money because we're going to put some taxes on it. Taxes is not a positive reinforcement. Let me say that again. Taxes is a negative reinforcement, which is like if you're trying to train your child, you're trying to train your animal, your horse, your dog, whatever it is, and you using negative reinforcement. Well, the negative reinforcement stops them from doing whatever it is you're trying to get them to do. If you reinforce them negatively, guess what? They're going to stop doing it.
That's happening in New York right now, Eddie. There's thousands of people leaving New York City, big time, because of all the extra taxes, which is not helping them, as well as all the extra regulations that are coming back, as well as the fact they know where to go because everything's shut down.
Well, and that's the other thing, too. People, California and New York. California and New York
Michigan too.
Used to be the largest two states in the country. Well, guess what? Florida is now bigger than New York State.
Population-wise,
You know why? Because of taxes and because of all that crap that's going on up there. Now, what we don't want them New Yorkers to come to Florida, with that same social, liberal bull crap.
That's a problem, Eddie.
They could leave that there. And the Texans are saying the same thing about all the people from California trying to go to Texas.
Yeah.
You got to leave the bad politics there. That's why you left. You got tired of the bad politics. So anyway, let me start the show. I kind of get to rambling, and next thing I know, I look down. It was 10 minutes into the show, and we ain't even started the show. So
that's a warm up.
It's a few people out there who don't know the call-in number. So if you're listening to this show for the first time, we don't try to be politically correct. This is Porch Talk Radio. We ain't trying to be. We ain't trying to be correct, politically correct. We're trying to give information, and some of the people who listen to this show on a regular basis actually like the show. I say 50% of the people who listen to the show all the time actually like the show and like what we're saying. 25% may happen upon the show and haven't made a decision like, we like it or we don't like it, and 25% absolutely don't like the show. So I say 25% of the people who listen to us on a regular basis don't like what it is we say, don't like the way we say it, but they still listen. They still listen.
They're getting educated.
So for 100% of our audience, we appreciate you. We love the fact that you're listening to the show, And we love the fact that you continue to listen to the show. And many of you who have not thought about calling in, every now and then you say, okay, well, I'm going to call them guys. I'm going to call these guys. Now, I do have people who email me, and I have a lot of people who text me. And I do get people who call, like I say, after the show. So if you're going to call me after the show, talk about anything. I'm good. I'm personable. We got a pandemic going on, and for all intents and purposes, if I ain't talking to somebody else, I'm talking to you. So
there you go.
So that's the way it works. So if you're going to call the show and be on the air, which is the purpose, you're going to call the show. So don't call the show like somebody called one of the other shows, and then when they call them to speak, they didn't say nothing. Well, guess what? You do that on this show, we're going to just go on to the next caller. Because we got plenty of people calling.
Speak your point.
Yeah, speak your point.
And be done.
And get on down the road. So, anyway. Call-in number, WTMP, Porch Talk Radio. Today, 813-251-9867. 813-251-9867. If you want to call me after the show, every week somebody call me during the show, and I can't take your call.
Mm-hmm.
I do have friends who text, and I try to, if it goes off and I'm looking at the phone, and if it's something significant, I will try to get it on air. A lot of times it's not, so I don't. So, and I'm sorry, and if you wait to the end of the show to call, so I'm trying to get all these rules in, because most of the other shows don't have rules, but I got to make sure folks understand.
We got too many people calling.
And we all on the same page.
There you go.
So if you wait till the last 5 minutes of the show to call and you don't get on the air, don't get mad at me, because I'm telling you the nature of calling in, waiting to the end of the show to call in. For some show that may be good, but for this show it's not.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm telling you at the beginning of the show, you wait to the end of the show to call. You may not get on the air. So anyway, all right. So if you want to call me Eddie Adams Jr., my cell phone number is 81312. Website, Porch Talk Radio.
Not sport.
.com. And if you want to, email me, you can email me, Eddie, EDDIE, Facebook Live,
Share and like.
Glad to have you guys on board. And Gabrielle, give me your info.
All right, so all the information I'm giving you guys, I've researched, I've looked it up. So if it hurts your feelings, that's too bad. Get over it, suck it up. Buttercup, if you want to call, complain, whine, there's a good chance I will ignore and block you, because I know you haven't looked it up to find out that it was the truth. I'll pray for you always. Now, 727-311. If you have something positive to add to the conversation, that's excellent. If you want to cry and complain because it doesn't fit what CNN just told you, then you're wrong anyway. Thank you.
All right. So this is what we're gonna do. Like I said, we're gonna start on where we left off. Last week we were talking about the issues that Trump had brought up, or Trump legal team had brought up, and we brought up, pretty much how power works. If you gotta ask for it, you have no power in that situation.
No president-elect office? Oh, it doesn't exist, does it?
I'm just telling you, if you gotta ask somebody for it, and their answer yes or no depends on whether or not you get it, you're not dealing in a power situation. Yeah. You're not.
No leverage.
Well, you are, but you're not in the powerful position. You're in the lesser position
to receive it.
So you're asking, and hopefully somebody will say yes. I will give you this, or I will allow you to do that. That's how power works. If you are in a position and you want something to happen, and you just go ahead and do it, and the consequences be what they may, you may find that you was okay. But if somebody puts their finger on your butt, put their thumb on your head, put their knee on your neck, any kind of scenario you want to put there, you was not, I repeat, you was not in the position of power. You was in a lesser position, and you are now finding out that that lesser position was lesser and not the most powerful position that you could have been in.
And dealing with the consequences thereof.
There you go. And that's how that works. So, anyway, some of the stuff that happened to Trump, when we talked about him last week, this is not something you have to agree with, Because most of the stuff, when we give you information, you don't have to agree with it. You know, and if you look it up and you go somewhere and of all the sources, I'm going to tell you what happened. Every day in a courtroom in the United States of America, both teams show up with what they consider to be factual information to present to a judge and jury. That's what happened. Both sides have information. Both sides have what they consider to be facts. Both sides are complaining and want their side to win. It don't happen. One side or the other side usually, you know, it's, and a lot of time it ain't even tight. You know, one side walks in with 10 lawyers and the other guy got 2. You know, one side got, you know, cases and cabinets full of files and stuff, and they stack them up, and you can't even see the person behind them, and the other person got one manila folder with 3 pages in it.
Yeah, no.
I'm just saying, that may seem unfair, but that's the way the system works. And you can't say the guy over there with a billionaire, the billionaire with all the lawyers and stuff, you know, you can't say, well, he should not pick on the little guy with one folder and two lawyers. Well, if the guy that with the one folder and the 2 lawyers could afford 12 lawyers, he would probably have 12 too.
Absolutely.
That's the way it works. So I'm just making sure folks understand. So when we, as a community, and I heard that word a couple times today already, you know, if we have resources and we, as a community, decide that these are good, valuable assets and we want to invest in our community, there may be a process you got to follow. But the bottom line, the end word, should be the community looking out for itself.
Should be.
And I heard somebody say a $300,000 consultant. So there's a lot of consultants out there that's making $300,000. There's a lot of consultants out there making $100,000. A lot of consultants making $30,000. The amount of money you pay for a consultant do not guarantee that the information you get is going to be worth $300,000.
Hillary Clinton proved that with $1 billion spent on a re-election. That
I'm just saying, it's a lot of consultants.
$1 billion.
We spent a couple $100,000 the city of Tampa, you know, the county, the airport, you know, a couple other, you know, public entities on disparity study. They all show the same thing. They all have showed for the last 20 or 30 years, every disparity study have showed that black folks have been discriminated against. Black folks get less, you know, even the damn coronavirus, you know, it's been harder on black folks than anybody. So again, that's not new. So if I pay $100,000 for somebody to tell me stuff I already know, that is not a good
deal.
use of my resources. I could have did a lot more in the community with that money. I'm just saying, and I'm not stepping on anybody's feet, hopefully. I'm just throwing information that's out there. If you're going to have a study done, first of all, have the study done on the right damn thing. Have the study done on something where at the end of the day, when the results come in from the study, it's going to make it so that you can get more, bigger, better. If you can't get more, bigger, better, and you just paid for that study, then you threw your money away. I'm just saying, you know, that's something that folks don't understand.
It should be results driven because you're expecting and you're trying to prove your point, so you'll shell out the $100,000 because you might make $1 million on the deal if you get it right. And if you got the right consultant. But that consultant, just like, well, you know, if you're black or if you're Hispanic, then you might not get it. Like, how much did I pay for this? Did I use a Groupon?
Right. Okay, and we got a caller too. So caller, welcome to Porch Talk Radio on this Saturday afternoon. Who are you? Where you calling from? And what say you? Hello?
Peace and blessings, brother. How are you?
Sister, I'm going to tell you something. This is my favorite sister. she calling the show, and I am glad she calling the show because you know a lot of things I say I'm talking to the community as a whole, and anytime my sister Connie calls and say how we doing, we are doing excellent. How about yourself?
I'm doing fine, and I just want to say that as I was the one speaking about the money that the consultant was paid, not as a positive, but as a negative, because you're absolutely right. If we pay $1 million and if the community don't participate, and if we would have paid $100,000, we might end up with the same result.
Right.
But what I'm hoping, Eddie, and you know what? I'm in the best place in my life right now. You know why I say that?
Why, baby?
Because when there wasn't a chair, I found a way to get a chair to the table, right?
Right.
And when people had to hold their nose because they don't want to hear from a grassroots level perspective the condition in which our community is living or have had to face issues while we have had grown, well-spoken individuals, organizations, whomever, that have allowed the deterioration to the point, like you said, when people have power, people know how to utilize and make power work for them. And if you want power, you got to go and take it.
Yeah, right.
You got to absolutely take it. You got to be organized in ways in which you could speak to inspire, to lift, and to plant individuals and good concepts and ideas in the heads of the greater community so everybody can see it.
Right.
So I'm in a good place financially, ain't no difference, but I'm in a good place. You know why? Because now we can lead our community to help them understand how real transformation can occur without massive gentrification occurring, without poverty pimping continuing, and we can see an uplift. So I am feeling good. Consultants, whatever they got paid that before I got to the table. You better believe they gonna work.
There you
Good
go.
girl.
There
You go get them.
They gonna work to see the dreams and the aspiration of working class people in a community that is so sick and tired of the same old okie doke. They gonna work for every penny, unapologetically. You hear what I tell you?
There you go.
So I just want to call and say hello to you today. Let you know I'm paying attention always to what you're saying, brother. And look here, last thing. I was out there on Bush and 56 the other day and almost ran into the road because I was looking at all that development.
Yep.
And you said it was coming and it's right there.
There you go.
So I appreciate you so much.
Thank you, baby.
God bless.
I appreciate it. And I will follow that lady anywhere because that lady's heart is in the battle. It's in the struggle. And she know how hard it is to make something happen. But I'm gonna tell you something else. She's gonna watch them dollars. They ain't gonna float away. They ain't gonna end up in somebody's pocket, without everybody. I'm telling you, they may end up in somebody's pocket, but everybody gonna know where they went. And that's the important thing. Everybody talks about accountability, but they themselves aren't accountable.
Eddie, wait a minute now. You're going down the slippery
I'm
slope.
just
You're going
saying.
down the slippery
I'm
slope,
just
brother.
saying.
Because I think we just had our city lose a few $1 million just recently. $4 million.
Tell the county lost money.
But nobody knows where it went because nobody's going to investigate.
Right.
Because this is their buddies that stole it.
Right.
Taxpayer money, and all they go is, oops.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is, it makes a difference who is taking the money. See, that's the issue about power. Now, people in power don't mind their friends getting the extra dollar here and there, and they can cover for it. They can make it happen.
That's called insurance, Eddie.
Yeah, well, but that's
The corrupt helping the corrupt.
Insurance you pay for. That's
Well,
like
the taxpayers paying for all that.
Yeah, that's like the swamp in Washington D.C.
But what's the sexual harassment fund that they have set up for the senators up there on both sides to rape and pillage as they wish and let taxpayer money pay off the people that complain about it? That's absolute baloney. Bull.
Yeah.
Let's let that list be known.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's local. Everything that I say, I give information, so I'm talking about, how we help each other and how we help the community at large and how we help the country. So I'm talking about power and I'm talking about what happened to Trump. Now, Now let me say something again. I actually don't care about folk getting mad. I'm gonna tell you what was published. Now it was up to the Trump legal team to make a point in court with those different judges, about the states that illegally set up different rules for different classes of voters. Now they know by what precinct you vote in, what your socio-economic condition is. Those folks at Avila, they don't vote at the same voting precincts as the people down on 22nd.
Ooh.
I'm telling you, they got 200 and something voting precincts in Hillsborough County.
Really?
It is. It's almost 300. It may be 300. But each one of those voting precincts is within the area that person lives. They make sure you don't have to go too far to vote. So guess what? That means you're probably in the same zip code, the same, you're definitely the same area.
Social economic scale, maybe?
Well, it's your neighborhood. If you're in South Tampa,
it's your hood.
You're not going to East Tampa to vote. I'm telling you, you're going to stay, your voting precinct somewhere in South Tampa.
So West Chase stays in West Chase.
So it's a way, if you're looking at this, to make sure that the folks with money don't have to, and I'm saying it like I mean it, you ain't got to interact with them po folks, from East Tampa, West Tampa, if Polk City, any of those other places, if you make X number of dollars, you probably in and about a voting precinct where you're gonna see them same kind of people while you're in line voting. I'm just telling you, So the fact that the state or a state, set of people working for the state can set those things up, predetermine who you are, and pretty much make rules and regulations that affect that whole interaction. That's one of the things that happened. Okay, thousands of dead people not only registered to vote, but actually did vote in the last election.
I think that just proves how strong Biden really is. He ain't able to raise the dead. That's a miracle.
I'm just saying, and this is not something that's new.
No, it's gone on.
Chicago and Detroit, dead folks have been voting for years, and everybody know that. But those are also Democratic strongholds.
Eddie, you trying to say there's a pattern?
I'm just saying that there's something that's been going on
for decades,
and it's like the 9-year-old black kid that knows where all the drug dealers are.
Oh, how's that?
But none of the police know. The sheriff don't know, the police don't know, but the 9-year-old kid know where all the drug dealers. It's that same kind of logic, The same folks every year for the last 40 years died 60 years ago, been voting. So
continuous.
I'm just saying,
same party.
There's some irregularities, but if you don't call it out, which is what Trump is doing, maybe in 2024 or 2022, some of them dead folks may start voting. I'm just saying.
Eddie, it's amazing me.
Because of that dead status, they may stop voting. I'm just saying.
You know what amazed me, Eddie, is how Democrats suddenly don't care, and Russian collusion and Russia helping politicians to vote, that's not in the news anymore. They've dropped that like a hot potato, although we could say China probably helped out somehow for Mr. Biden.
Yeah.
But, and Biden can't be bought. We know that. They own him. So anyway, but just going forward, the fact that collusion was a big thing for 4 years. Russia.
Right.
And it was just, Hillary was sorry, and they couldn't even find people to pay them to go vote for her, and they didn't.
Speaking of Hillary may get a cabinet post.
Because of her record with Libya? That was a great record.
I'm just saying.
Gaddafi, she took out.
Hillary still, she ain't dead yet. So she could still be voting long
God
after
bless her, pea-picking soul.
Long after she passes. But anyway, the fact that she may get a cabinet post in this next in Biden's cabinet. So,
and Bernie Sanders is already yelling and screaming.
He want to be
he was used.
Secretary of Labor.
He was used, and his platform, his people were used, and all Biden says, It never promised you a rose garden.
Right, but But it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to watch the next 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And by that point in time, Trump may have to come down the escalator again, and this time it'll be a landslide, and they won't be able to steal it.
Well, there's still a chance here, Eddie, and you mentioned last time that there is an actual process in who picks the president.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people today
Right.
still don't know that or understand that it's not the media
No.
that picks the president. It's
not even the people.
Yeah, the popular vote doesn't pick the
No.
president. It's the electoral
college,
which meets in January. You said.
Well, the electoral college votes December the 14th. Then they have the official Washington D.C. base vote on January the 6th. On January the 6th, the president-elect becomes the official president-elect. He is no president-elect until January the 6th, when the electoral college, see the reason they vote on December the 14th, and they had that whole seemingly month in between, is because they had to go from Maine, Washington State, California, and do all that stuff, and then go physically to Washington, D.C. to cast that vote.
And back in the old days, that was by horse or
coach,
something like that.
Yeah, and it may have taken that long for those people to physically end up in Washington, D.C.
And
well, now it's still the same. It hasn't changed.
Tiny.
So they vote. They cast the vote in their state. And I'm going to tell you something else. A lot of people may not know. Your members of your state electoral college do not have to be the elected senators and elected representatives.
See, Eddie, that blows people away right
See,
there. They have no clue that all the Trump legal team has to do is to create doubt in the minds of the electoral people voting.
Sure.
And suddenly, those states that are in question, because Wisconsin he lost out on, and what was the other one? Another one, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
He just lost out. And they said, wait a minute.
Georgia. Well,
they said, wait a minute. But if he can create doubt,
I'm going to tell you something.
that electoral college will give it to him.
Those electoral college voters are not required by law
To vote?
To vote the way their
popular vote.
state has went. They're not required to do that.
In the last 3 or 4 elections, actually one of those did go the other direction.
Again,
and the popular vote was one way.
They can.
The electoral went the other way.
Can.
Like, wait a minute.
Yeah. I mean, people. A lot of people don't understand how smart our forefathers were. Now, again, a lot of black folks definitely don't understand.
No, Hispanics don't either.
Because them was all white folks. Them were white folks arguing, cussing, and fussing with other white folks. You were still in the fields picking cotton. I'm just saying.
Why not pick a fruit?
You was chatter, or you whatever they considered you to be. Those people were not involved with the process of making sure that everything was fair and good and everybody was well represented.
They're just trying to eat, Eddie.
And all the stuff now. Exactly.
Literally.
And all the stuff now. But they did a damn good job. They did an excellent job of looking into their crystal ball and saying what can go wrong. Because we know what it's like to have a king. We've had kings before. We had monarchies before. We've had dictatorships before. We had all kind of stuff before. But this democracy, this democratic republic that we are making here for the United States of America is going to be different.
It's got to stay strong. We've got 236 years. How long have we been around here? 236?
But we are babies. I mean, they got monarchies. England. Them people been around thousands of years. Japan. Them people have been around for thousands of years. You got, different types of ruling government agencies, that have been around for thousands and thousands of years. So 200-300 years is nothing for them things. But the thing about it is, we came to power. And we're still in power. And we did that quicker than any other country in the world.
Eddie, but I gotta give a heads up to the Democrats. They really have right now in history, as of this election right now, this is historic. Since 1875, the Democrats have had this is the least power they've had in the House of Representatives. It goes back to 18. So they're creating history, Eddie.
Yeah. Well, they still control the House, though.
By just a handful for the moment.
Yeah, yeah. And historically, and I'm not trying to throw any shade.
No.
Throw any shade.
No. Politics, never.
But the party that's in the White House, usually on the off-cycle election, which will happen in 2 years, loses power in the House, historically.
Wow, that the Republicans will take it then.
So if they lose anything in the House,
Mm-hmm.
Then the House,
They're done.
The House will go back to the Republicans.
Yeah.
I don't
It's just a
want-
handful right now,
I
Eddie.
don't want folks to be upset because I said that.
Get ready.
I'm just trying to,
Get ready.
tell you some things.
Get your crying done now.
So you be prepared. Exactly. For snowflakes unite.
Woo.
Create a ball.
Absolutely.
Get together. Okay, let me continue. So I don't want to get sidetracked.
No.
We want to kind of get through this thing. Okay, digital voting machines changed thousands of votes for Trump to Biden. That's that whole Dominion thing.
They've got USB drives. They've already been given by the people that turned it over. Said we were told to plug these into the machines, and it only gave Biden votes.
They did it by the numbers. So they didn't want to change all of them because it's been easy to find. So they said for every 2 votes that Trump gets, every 3 votes that Trump gets, we're gonna give 1 of them to Biden. So Biden get all his votes, plus 1 from Trump for every 3
They
votes.
made him more popular than Obama. Everybody thought Obama hung the moon, but Biden's numbers made Obama look sorry.
Yeah, but we got a lot of dead folks voting.
Oh well.
We got a lot of ballots that came in. Now I'm gonna say this. How? Now I don't think it's a supervisor of election office in the United States of America printed a ballot with 1 name on it.
That couldn't happen, could it, Eddie? Could that happen?
I'm just saying, 1 name on the ballot. No constitutional amendments.
Just put an X on it and call it good.
No other candidates. No other nothing. Okay, that happened.
Really?
Thousands of ballots mysteriously showed up that had only 1 name on the ballot. They had Biden, no other name.
Oh no!
No other candidate.
No, that makes it okay then if it's just Biden name.
Again, that's what they were doing.
That's legal in the blue states.
Yeah, that's what they was counting.
Yeah.
So we got thousands of ballots show up. No other. That's why it didn't go downstream. That's why that's why Biden could win president, but the Democrats didn't win all those other elections. All them other elections that they lost.
They lost big. They really did, Eddie.
Poll workers, for these different precincts saw nothing wrong with counting these ballots that showed up with only Biden name on them. So
just count them.
So
Go.
yeah, and that was the point. Just count them. And
no signature needed.
And somebody was saying that, and that's the other thing that's so funny. Part of the thing that Trump and his team was challenging was the signatures. You got computer-generated signatures that was being reproduced. So you may have a truckload of ballots come in, and if you got different people counting them, they all seeing the same signature, but they don't see that this is a different thing because they're only looking at the ones in the pile that they are counting.
Well, in the boxes they all came in the trucks, like you're saying there, they had the word "wish" written on the side of it in blue ink, so I don't know what that's about. But they finally got that shipment in and just counted. But folks, you have to realize, Mr. Trump, President Trump, is trying to get an election system to work right for both sides.
Right.
And the Democrats should be just as upset as the Republicans, saying, well, if the system ain't right, then it'll never be right. Then who's going to trust the elections anymore?
Yeah, and this is the other thing. And like I keep referring to 2022 and 2020.
It's going to be brutal, bro. It's going to be brutal.
2024.
The Republicans have learned the tricks.
When they stopped the election, when they stopped counting
Never have before.
that night, all six of the 7 states that was uncounted or undeclared.
State run, blue state.
They all had Trump in the lead.
And that had to be stopped immediately.
Some of them by hundreds of thousands of votes. And when they finish, all of those states, I'm just saying. Now, they had a TV series that used to come on, and for a period of time I used to watch it called Scandal. And if anybody watched Scandal,
I'm not that old.
It wasn't that long ago. They called it Scandal. It was about how you take an election. It's about how you rig one set of voting machine, one set of numbers in one place in the country and affect an election. And the whole thing on Scandal, was about how that they made this happen, how it was all orchestrated, and it was the swamp. That swamp that Trump keep talking about, it was the swamp at work. Stuff like this don't happen in Washington, D.C. Stuff like this don't happen in California or Florida anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because those are the obvious places. You take some of these less than obvious places, and you change a few things here, change a few things there. What they could not do, and again, this is Porch Talk Radio. So I am telling you, what they could not do, they could not allow those votes to continue to be counting, even though every election, and since this country has been here, they know within the day of the election,
right there,
it's
that
pretty much, who the president is.
That day.
Even though in 2000 and
16?
2000 and
2000.
In 2000,
Gore.
with the Gore Bush thing,
yeah.
It took a few days to figure out what was happening. But they had
all the other states done.
Physical ballots there, and the fact that the governor for the state of Florida was his brother, and they called the state of Florida, and it never changed. So again, usually when they get to the point where they call it like that, and that was the closest up until now. This time they had 6 or 7 states in question.
All Democrat run.
And they could not let them go. They could not let them go any further. Now, Georgia was not democratically run.
Now, Eddie, could you just be sour grapes because your guy lost? Is that what you're trying to tell us? Are you just sour grapes because your guy lost? Is that all we're talking about here?
I am throwing information out there for consideration.
Truth.
Because, again, sometimes when we hear it, we don't identify with it. I am telling you that the Dominion voting machines will not be used in this country anywhere in the next election.
I think they just got bought out by Mattel.
I will put my life on that.
Their stock's worth about that.
Because that's one of the fix. They found, that's like getting caught cheating. And then you're trying to fix it. Well, one of the first things you do is, we won't use that testing company anymore. I've seen that happen many a times, especially on federal tests and things like that, where they find corruption and they make up for it by saying, okay, well, that company did it. We as the official test givers who got millions of dollars in kickbacks for using their equipment, we won't use them anymore. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much saying.
Well, the leadership is still hiding in some bunker somewhere in some country where we can't extradite.
Well, Biden ain't gonna try to extradite them.
No.
So Trump leaves office, in 2 months. So pretty much, a month and a half. So when that happens,
unless he never concedes.
Well, he cannot concede, but he still got to leave office because the Constitution say January the 21st.
And he responded, Eddie. He said he will leave if the Electoral College votes it that way. It's done.
Yeah, but the Constitution say January 21st. The Washington D.C. The White House police will evict.
But does that mean the U-Haul truck can still be leaving the property, or it needs to be off the property?
They do like everybody does. They put it on the closest common corner, not connected with the resident.
This sounds like a past relationship we're talking about
I'm just
here.
saying, I've been evicted before, so you know, we was all young. So they, you know, I'm gonna tell you something. They evict billionaires. You know, and the White House, it's in the Constitution how to do it.
The process.
You know, so
Right.
it's there. You know, like I said, them old men thought about everything. They thought
That's pretty wild.
They thought we may get a president who may not like the results of the election and may not have dead folks voting against them and form.
Got upset over that? Yeah, what's up with that? They're dead. Why can you hold anything against a dead person? Come on, really?
So yeah. Anyway, okay, let's do on this day.
Oh, that's right.
Let's not
Get
wait.
her done.
Let's not wait till the end of the show. You know, while we have this conversation. Okay, on this day, November the 28th, in 1963, U.S. President Johnson announced that Cape Canaveral would be renamed Cape Kennedy in honor of his assassinated predecessor.
That was good.
The name was changed back to Cape Canaveral in 1973 by a vote of the residents.
They didn't like it.
So the people didn't like it.
Having a dead name president on their Cape Canaveral.
Well, they didn't like the process. They didn't like the process by which it got changed. So now I'm gonna tell you something else.
Mm-hmm.
That's the next example of how executive orders work. An executive order is only in effect long as that executive is in the White House.
Because there's a sundown clause.
Because it expires with
Yeah.
him. So you can pass all the executive orders you want. The next president or the next two presidents
Just let them expire.
can change and say, okay, those go. They gone. See you.
Yeah.
Bye. And that's all. I mean, that's a simple process. Because that executive is no longer the executive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. On this day, November the 28th in 1990, Margaret Thatcher resigned as Prime Minister of Britain.
Tough old bird.
She was.
Smart lady. She was smart as
She was a
hell.
good Prime Minister.
She was tough.
On this day, November the 28th, 1994, Jeffrey Dahmer, your neighborhood muncher, Jeffrey Dahmer, a convicted serial killer, was clubbed to death in a Wisconsin prison by fellow inmates.
So there is a code in there.
There's a code.
Don't mess with children, and don't do that cannibalism stuff.
Well, you don't eat people, that's for sure.
Yeah,
So- you know.
Gotta have
All
stuff.
right. And on this date, last but not least, on this day, November the 28th, 1995, U.S. President Clinton signed a $6 billion road bill that ended the federal 55-mile-an-hour speed limit.
Hallelujah.
That's what I said, man.
Woo.
But people was complaining about that from day one, and they complained about it to the last day it was in existence. They have even had a sign. They even had a song. I can't drive 55.
You know, Eddie, and if
It was
you,
a rock song.
Yes, it was. If you drive through the state of Wyoming, there are highways out there that have no speed limit.
Oh.
And there's only 20 people out there.
Right.
But you
That's
can
right.
run 150, 300, wherever you can get your car to go. Just go. Ain't nobody out there. You're it. In fact, they cut out buffalo out of metal, out of steel, and they put the silhouette up on the hillsides, and they have some of them cowboys. So when you drive far away, oh look, no, that's nothing. It's just it's a silhouette. There's nothing out there.
Right.
But there's no speed limit.
Right,
Just
right.
go.
Kind of like the Autobahn.
Yeah, just go. Blast that pickup truck.
Let me tell you something about the Autobahn. You can drive 300 miles an hour, but it's a lot of people on the damn Autobahn. And all of them, whether they can go 300 miles an hour or not, they want to go 300 miles an hour.
And the standards on the cars out there is not that great when it comes to safety.
The fast cars are fast and the slow cars are slow. So let me say, I have personally been on the
Have
Autobahn
you?
myself. I haven't drove on the Autobahn, but I've been on the Autobahn several times. So, and I was in Switzerland, and in Switzerland, all of the police cars I saw back in those days were Porsches. The police drove Porsches. And when I was in Germany, all the police cars were Mercedes.
And to them, it's a common car. Doesn't
Yeah.
make them there.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like a
but
Porter City is here.
back then,
That was a big deal.
It was a big deal. So anyway, okay, your 2 minutes. Go ahead.
All right, let's go at it. I just want to clarify on the virus. The virus didn't create toilet paper shortages. The government did. The virus didn't cause financial hardships. The government did. The virus didn't create unemployment issues. The government did. The virus didn't close your business. The government did. The virus didn't stop you from worshiping. The government did. The virus didn't create food shortage of any kind. The government did. There's a theme in there, folks. Kind of try and hold that thought. Meanwhile, out in Portland, black BLM activists say they are done with white Antifa. Even though 85% of BLM is white liberals.
Right.
But they're up against the other white. White on white. That sounds stupid already. Let's see here. Vermont Schools says they will grill their students on their family celebrations. They're going to make sure there was only 6 people to 5 people in each one. The governor said they will check and they will question every student. Whew, I thought the kids were ours. By the way, back on wars, Mr. Obama had 7 he was involved in. Bush had 5. Clinton had 5. And Trump had 0. So if you hate wars and money being wasted and spent on them, you're obviously a Trump supporter. Also, moving down, the GOP controls the state legislatures in key swing states. The GOP controls the state legislatures. Now, if those legislatures are convinced of fraud, they can actually do a vote for that state. Woo! Democrats didn't think about that one.
Right.
Pennsylvania and Wisconsin dismiss. Trump wanted to have those votes recounted, which opens the door for the Supreme Court, which is beautiful. Let's see, the smallest majority, we talked about that since 1875. The idea that healthy people are endangering others simply by breathing is the dumbest scam in the history of the world. If you think that COVID knows the difference between tea, water, and alcohol, then you really are dumber than you look. I'm just saying, folks. And if you believe that when you walk into a restaurant, if you're standing up, COVID knows when you're standing up, but when you're sitting down, it doesn't know to look down, and you're safe. You really are that dumb, folks, so don't fall for it. Yesterday, the other day I put on a scarf, and it fit me really nice. It still fit really good. I'm so proud of myself. Let's be positive here. It's a scarf, okay? You got to work what you got to work with. Anyway, that's it for me.
Did you have it on your face?
You know you would ask that, wouldn't you? You would ask that.
Because I've seen T-shirts, I've seen all kind of stuff. And again, it ain't just because we do Porch Talk Radio.
No.
It's because some things look stupid. Now,
Eddie, don't be offensive now.
Some people have turtlenecks.
In Florida?
I'm just telling you.
That's not right.
It don't have to be
With
Florida.
their sandals.
But the nature of a turtleneck is you just roll it on up to your eyes. And it's the same shirt it was 50 years ago, but nobody 50 years ago ever wanted to roll a turtleneck up to the eyeball. I'm just saying. It probably would have worked better, probably just as warm and all other stuff that you get from it, but now, and if you ever look at the weave of a turtleneck, if you thought you were getting no protection before...
Turtleneck history right here for you.
If you thought you were getting no protection before, you might as well stick a straw in the turtleneck and just breathe through the straw. Because you will get everything.
We teach you everything here, folks.
You will get everything.
This is Porch Talk Radio.
You were going to get before. So anyway, folks, next week, I'm going to start the show off. But we got a couple minutes. Let me give you
a preview,
a tale. Let me give you a tale. I want you guys to listen. Don't have a lot of time. It's the end of the show, but I'm trying to put some thought in your head. A baby elephant born in the circus. While they're very young, very tiny, they take those big old, 1-inch round stakes, and they take those giant hammers, and they pretty much bam it. And I know somebody said bam it, yeah, bam.
They drive it in the ground.
Drive it in the ground.
There you go.
and it holds that baby elephant, he cannot overpower that stake and that chain around his leg. He tried as hard as he could to pull it out, to move, to do whatever he could do. The stake won't go. Later, in the same life of the same elephant, the elephant now weighs 2.5 tons.
Quite a lot.
Stake is only there for show.
But
Tent catches on fire. All of the elephants in the tent burn up.
mm-hmm.
Not because they couldn't pull the stake out of the ground, because their mind has been trained that they can't pull the stake out of the ground. So they burn up and die because a thought had been put in their head, and they haven't challenged that thought their whole lives. They're now 1.5 tons of absolute muscle.
Yeah.
Stake, tent, none of that stuff could hold them back if they ever decided to do anything with it. But now, because of that thought, will give up their lives. Not intentionally. They just don't know no better. And I am talking about how powerful mind control can be. If you have a thought in your head and you think that it is absolute, and you live your whole life and you never challenged it, it can kill you.
You know, Eddie, looking at what's happening in our blue states around this nation, it's obvious that what you're saying is that these people have been raised in this environment, they've kept themselves and they raised their kids in these environments of just absolute control. And we find California to have a very high poverty rate. They've got a lot of control. We've got New York now is becoming a high poverty state. And just control, and the Supreme Court has actually fought back on some of it recently with the mayor, saying that he can't do that. He can't get away with all that. And I said, no, they can't do that with the people not being able to go to church because of some kind of a sickness. And again, once that thought process is in there, Eddie, whether you're black, whether you're Hispanic, and you're used to being told, no, that's for the other one. That's for somebody else. People will live their lives always on the edges, Eddie, never going forward. And what Trump has done this 4 years is created momentum and action to move minorities further ahead than ever before. And this past election just happened. More females are now in the party than ever before because they're breaking free.
Yeah, and as I was saying before, the little chain around the ankle, that same chain that was around hundreds of millions of black folks.
Mm-hmm.
Black folks all over the world have been in chains.
You've said this, a mental plantation, Eddie.
And now that chain left their ankle and is now in their mind. And they can't go forward. They can't move beyond it because of a thought put in their head when they was kids. So until next week, same bat time, same bat station. Eddie Adams, Gabrielle Phillips, Tim Horton here at Porch Talk Radio, Tampa Bay. We love you. Until then, see you.
God bless America.
Love you. Bye-bye.